Have you ever covered a carpet stain with a rug, ignored a leaky faucet, pretended your half-painted living room is supposed to look like that? Well, you're not alone. We've all got unfinished home projects. But there's an easier way. Thumbtack is the app that makes it easier to care for your home. Pull out your phone and in just a few taps, search, chat, and book highly rated pros right in your neighborhood. Download Thumbtack and start caring for your home the easier way.
They say opposites attract. That's why the Sleep Number Smart Bed is the best bed for couples. You can each choose what's right for you, whenever you like. You like a bed that feels firm, but they want soft? Sleep Number does that. You want to sleep cooler, while they like to feel warm. Sleep Number does that too. Sleep Number Smart Beds also learn how you sleep and provide you with personalized insights to help you sleep even better. You have to feel it to believe it. Find the bed that's for both of you, only at a Sleep Number store. 9 out of 10 couples say they sleep better on a Sleep Number Smart Bed. Time to catch some Z's. J.D. Power ranks Sleep Number number 1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now during Sleep Number's biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number Limited Edition Smart Bed, plus special financing for a limited time. For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Only at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com. See store for details.
From the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is Real Talk, No Strings Attached. The podcast brought to you by the youth of Indianapolis, using this platform and their voice to touch on vital topics they believe impact their communities. Here's the Real Talk team for some real talk, no strings attached.
Are you ready? Because here we go.
Hey, this is Trey with Real Talk, and I'm here with
Nia Robinson.
Nice to meet you, Nia. So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a Cathedral alum. I'm currently 25. I went to Northwestern University for my undergrad, and I'm currently getting my master's at North Carolina, and I play professional volleyball overseas.
What's your best thing? What's your best part about playing professional volleyball?
For me, it's traveling and learning the different cultures. I didn't really travel across overseas like when I was younger, so being able to do that for free and actually like get paid for it is like super cool.
So I heard that you were a Cathedral grad, if that makes sense. What was your favorite part about Cathedral?
Cathedral has been so amazing to me. Like the volleyball team, we had the best chemistry, and those girls will forever hold a special like place in my heart, and they just made my experience everything. And then also a couple of the teachers were really great and just like really accommodating with my volleyball schedule and letting me know that I can be an elite athlete and I can get good grades and like I don't have to choose.
So as a Cathedral student, who was your favorite teacher?
I have two. One would be Miss Mills for anatomy. That class was so awesome, and I thought it would be gross because we like dissect cats and frogs and just different stuff. But it was actually just so hands-on, and I think that's definitely my learning style and like getting to actually practice what you learn. And then my other would have to be Jean Kesterson, and I didn't actually ever take any of her classes. She taught finance and accounting, but she was also my volleyball coach, and she just taught me so many life lessons that she was my teacher, even though I didn't necessarily take her class. She taught me so much about life and the sport, and like I still text her like every day.
So what do you think Cathedral prepared you for the most?
That's a great question. It prepared me for a lot of things. I think academically, it definitely prepared me for college. Like when they say the hardest part is getting in, they're so real about that. And the teachers do a really good job of like making sure we stay on it, but also knowing that communication goes a long way. So like you're not a superhuman. You might be overwhelmed one week. You don't need to get everything done. But if you talk to the professors or the teachers at Cathedral, let them know what's going on. They're really accommodating. And I think that goes to the same for college. And a lot of people get stressed out of like talking to authority figures, but I think Cathedral does a good job of letting us know if you communicate, it's going to be okay. They want to help you and they want you to succeed.
So kind of to pivot away from high school and go to your college experience, what was your favorite experience about college and being a professional college player?
Okay. So college is like the best time of my life. I went to Northwestern and North Carolina. So answering these, I'm going to say my best part about Northwestern and then my favorite part about North Carolina. So for Northwestern, it really was the best of both worlds. I felt like I was getting the best education. We're a top 10 university. And I was also getting the best athletics, the volleyball, Big Ten. is a huge thing. We compete in front of huge arenas, and it's really like right now growing. The sport is growing, and to be a part of that community was amazing. And then at North Carolina, there is nothing like Chapel Hill. That is a college town through and through, and seeing the support people had for the students and the athletes was just amazing. And to like be walking down the street and people being like, oh, you played really well in that game. Like that was really cool to see everybody like coming around this university. And basically like Chapel Hill is for North Carolina. Like everyone wants North Carolina to succeed. Everyone's a North Carolina fan.
So, which school do you like more, UNC or Northwestern?
I definitely can't answer that one. I can say, like, no, I can't answer it because like Northwestern's right there on the water and it's a beautiful campus in that way, but North Carolina is also beautiful. I would say I did prefer the classes at Northwestern better, but I was also there longer. So there's that. And then North Carolina, I did like Chapel Hill living there better.
I will ask, you played in the Big Ten at Northwestern. Did you ever play North Nebraska in the football stadium?
So that was Nebraska Day for this year. I did not get that opportunity, but I watched it and I had a lot of friends that got to play in it, and that is just insane. And I'm so happy to see how far volleyball has come, and for them to be able to fill the football stadium. Like they literally had standing room people. Like people were there just standing watching the game, and I think that is so dope. And I played against Nebraska a lot of times, and I lost against Nebraska a lot of times.
So I heard that there's like a new professional league that officially is like starting up with volleyball. And it was a team in Las Vegas. Are you playing on that team by any chance?
I am not playing on that team. And yeah, there's actually 2 new leagues. One was this year, which was the Pro Volley Federation. And this was their very first season. It just completed. And I had a lot of friends and teammates that played in that league, and they had just nothing but great things to say about it. And then the other league is Love Volleyball. And they're starting up 2024, and they have amazing names coming out and just some really high level volleyball players. Oh, and then I guess I did play. So there's another professional league called Athletes Unlimited. That's in Vegas. And I played in that this past season.
So are you playing overseas now?
Yes, I haven't signed my contract for next year. You basically sign a contract for like about 8 months. I've played in Greece and Puerto Rico, and then I've done tournaments in Japan and Croatia. I haven't signed this next contract. I'll be signing it like soon. But yeah, the plan is to go overseas.
So as an athlete, and I know that at least nowadays, seeing other athletes and me being one, I've kind of observed that most teenage athletes' diets, because actually here at Real Talk, we're now diving into the nutrition field. So I kind of want to diverge to that. But as an athlete and looking at other athletes, I've kind of figured out a lot of athletes' diets, at least teenage athletes' diets, are kind of bad. Like it's a lot of fast food, a lot of processed food. Do you think your diet as a teenager matters if you're an athlete, or do you think because we're so active, it doesn't really matter?
I think it definitely matters, but is it something to stress about? No. Like thinking of the evolution of my diet from when I go to college to like professionally now, it has changed a bunch. Like in high school, I feel like we're going from immediately that long day of 7 hours of school, and then we go right to practice, and it is really hard to find something healthy and nutritious like in between those times. So I would say I definitely wasn't the healthiest eater in high school, but I did like watch like a couple of things. Like I know before a game, okay, like I need to make sure I'm having my proteins and I need to have carbs. But there's also just so much lies around nutrition and facts in America that like even if you think you're eating healthy, you might not be. Like there's so much processed food, GMOs, like all of these things that are put in the food that make it really hard to know what you're eating. And I didn't learn that until I became a professional athlete. And like I'm in Europe and learning about all the food, and there's so many banned substances that we have in America that's not even allowed in Europe, or like red dyes and BTA, I think it is. And like I'm still learning. So as a young athlete, it's definitely something to be aware of, but like at the same time, it's a whole thing America needs to fix as a whole. So it's really hard as a high schooler to be like, okay, I need to be doing this, this, and this.
Because I know, as at least for me, it's almost like, because like you said, like after like 7.5 hours of school, we go straight to practice. So I feel like, and we burn so much because practice is typically like 3.5 hours, 3.5 hours. So I feel like we burn off so much energy, so much carbs, especially playing for Cathedral. The practices are high intensity, very demanding, very tiring. So after practice, I feel like it's almost on nature to find something.
Yeah.
Like find something good.
And especially at that time, you're just like, oh, I'm hungry. I'm going to stop at Chick-fil-A on my way home. Like, I need to eat like right now.
I live by Pendleton Pike. Like there's like 10,000 different fast food places. So it's very tempting to say, okay, I'm going to stop at Steak and Shake. Or I'm going to stop at McDonald's this time. Or I'm going to change up and stop at Dairy Queen. It's so tempting, especially as an athlete, because you're so hungry. So like, even though if you have food at home, it's almost like I'm hungry in the moment. I just gotta get something to eat. And even at Cathedral, you have a Burger King and a Taco Bell and a Hardee's right down the street. And then we just got a burger joint place also in that same plaza. So that's 4 fast food places right by a high school. So of course you're gonna have a lot of hungry athletes after practice going to one of those spots and getting something to eat. But like you said, because we're so active, it's not something to worry about. But then I feel like when we get older, we're not in school. We're not, college obviously, but like we're not, school isn't like consistently feeding us anymore. Like we actually have to feed ourselves. And that's when we start becoming more conscious about what we eat and how our bodies look. Especially because like I know for college football players, they have like a diet schedule, like a food schedule, and a calorie counter. And if you go over the amount of calories, you don't eat the right amount of calories, you're in trouble. So I feel like definitely when you get to college and when you get older, you're a lot more conscientious about what you eat and what you put in your body. So you brought up a good point about what they banned in Europe. Do you think it's a good idea to have all those banned substances in Europe that you can't consume?
Oh yes. Like I don't think you can't find red Gatorade over there because it's so bad for you. You can't find Skittles because the dye in it is so bad for you. And also, like, for example, if we went to the grocery store and I picked up a bag of Lay's chips here and I read the ingredients list, and then I went to Europe and I picked up a bag of Lay's chips, the ingredients would be not completely different, but there would be so many less ingredients in the ones from Europe because we just fill ours with so much unnecessary stuff for like shelf life and just other things. So even when we are eating the same products, they're not the same to what they are in Europe. And that's why like when we're walking around, everyone's like, oh, the Europeans, they have such great bodies because they walk a lot. And realistically, our food's different. And I'm friends with like a lot of international students that come here for college and they start freaking out. They're like, I'm eating the exact same, but I've gained 20 pounds. I don't know what changed. And then we have to look at them and be like, America's food system, like you're eating the exact same as how you have been your whole life, but there's just so much chemicals and processed foods over here that it's changing the way your body looks.
So do you think, based off of that, do you think making food, like, because you said in Europe, a bag of Lay's potato chips is different from a bag of Lay's potato chips here. I'm going to do you one better. I looked at a photo of a Fanta orange here. You know how Fanta orange looks here, right? Then you go to, I believe, like the UK, and a Fanta orange almost looks like an orange juice. So it's like the Fanta orange here may taste better, but is it really good for you compared to the Fanta orange in the UK, which actually is made of orange and not orange dyes? Also, like Skittles and Red Gatorade, that has Red 40 in it. Mm-hmm. Red 40 is banned in Europe. Also, I believe Blue 1 and Yellow 6 as well. So Skittles, you can't find Skittles in Europe, but you can find them all over the country here. But I'm going to bring up one state in particular. California, in a couple of years, is going to ban a lot of ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are like Red 40 and Blue 6 or Blue 1. Do you think that's a good idea from the state of California to start restricting what we put on our bodies and start saying, okay, like Red 40 and harmful ingredients, we can't put that on our body anymore?
Yeah, I do think it's a good idea, but I think they need to go about it in the right way. Like, they need to not come off as like a monopoly of like, you can't have this anymore when you've had it your whole life. There's probably a lot of people that like Skittles, and they're probably still going to want Skittles at the end of the day. But I think as America needs to solve its food problem, is they need to like address this and educate people as to why these things need to go off the shelf. What are the actual causes in it? Because some things in our food are directly linked to cancer. And then that goes into the health disparities we have. And I think if this education is more put out there and it's not the propaganda of taste the rainbow, eat the rainbow. And I'm so sorry, Skittles. I don't mean to hate on you. I actually do enjoy Skittles too, which is the terrible thing. But I do know it's not good for my body. And if they can make it a lot better, that'd be great. And there's just a lot of unnecessary things in our food. And I think taking that back, but letting people know you can enjoy delicacies. If you've been in Europe, no one loves a pastry item more than a Greek. No one loves some chocolate or anything more than the Greeks. They love sweets and they indulge in them, but they're not filled with chemicals that are going to end up to long-term health issues.
So like sweets in Greece, like they taste a lot different, but they're still sweet compared to like a Hershey's chocolate bar in America.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know like directly on this. Like, I love the chocolate there. I love the chocolate here. But I do know like all of their stuff is made fresh and it's at bakeries and it doesn't have as long of a shelf life. When it's at the end of the day, if that food hasn't been sold, they throw it away. They don't save it and inject it with things so it can last longer. And it's just less processed at the end of the day.
So when you talk about shelf life, I believe they're called saturated fats, either unsaturated or saturated fats. But that's what we put in our food to increase the shelf life, which actually it increases the shelf life, it increases the taste, and I always say it increases the shelf life, but it allows grocery stores to get away with having things like potato chips and cookies from sitting on shelves for like a couple months, especially if it's not a popular item. Do you think we need to stop doing that and just say, okay, if we don't sell these many bags of potato chips at this Kroger, we just got to throw them out and bring in a new batch?
Yeah, I think we need to stop being cheap with our food and trying to save money by processed food. But that also goes hand in hand because a lot of the food Americans can afford are the processed foods. They can't afford the organics food. That stuff is so expensive. I don't know if you've heard of Erewhon's, but I went in California and my jaw actually was on the ground because I have never seen groceries so expensive in my life. And so like we can't just get rid of the processed food because at the end of the day, now a lot of Americans rely on that food and that's the only food they're able to access. But I think when we talk about food insecurity, we're talking, a lot of people just refer to the people that aren't able to have meals, but we need to like also take into account they need access to nutritious and fresh foods, not just any food. It needs to be quality food.
So I'm glad you brought that up because I actually was going to bring it up before you said anything. Because if you look at like a Fresh Thyme here in Indy, like it's way more expensive than, let's say, food at a Kroger. And you can get fresh food at Kroger. You can also get processed food at Kroger. The only thing about that is the fresh food at Kroger costs a lot more than the processed food at Kroger. So do you think that we need to do something to make the healthier option more affordable than the unhealthier option? And if so, how should we do that?
A loaded question. I'm not in politics, so I don't necessarily know how the money side works. But I just think it's so simple to me. Like, we should not be trying to kill our people with bad, like, foods. And healthy foods should be affordable. It should directly correlate with the minimum wage salary. And all of that should be in a line. If this is how much people are getting paid, this is how much food should be costing that is fresh and good, and like a lot more urban gardens to like make sure people have access to those. And even like there's a lot of food deserts in Indiana. Like a lot of people can't even get to a grocery store and they're forced to be at convenience stores. And convenience stores don't carry any fresh products. To my knowledge, it's mainly processed food. And like all of this goes hand in hand in the food system and like how we can counteract. And there's a lot of people like trying to fix these things, but it's so large of an issue that like I think the US needs to band together and be like, hey, these foods are linked to X, Y, and Z, and they're causing these problems in our people and in our society. We should get ahead of that and we should fix that.
So I'm going to bring it back to K through 12 schools. So back in like the 80s and 90s, I believe, the government started allowing fast food corporations to put their products in schools. So like McDonald's and Papa John's and Taco Bell used to be able to put burgers and tacos and fries into elementary schools so kids could eat them for lunch. So a lot of people thought that was a good idea because, oh, my kid was going to eat lunch, he's going to be okay. But then that ended up, that started spiraling into childhood obesity and, kids starting to fail in the classroom because they're not getting proper nutrition. But also, if you do a little bit more research back before that, there used to be a time where food was made right on campus. So you didn't get, like today, you get like all the foods made at one facility and then it's sent out. It's not actually made in the school. They just heat it up. It wasn't fast food companies bringing in burgers and fries and having kids eat them. It used to be a time where food was made fresh on campus, fresh on the school grounds. And children were a lot better off of that, and childhood obesity wasn't as high because of that. So do you think we need to go back to those days of making the food fresh on school grounds, fresh and allowing kids to eat, and on top of that, making the food affordable for kids?
Yeah, I think that would be like a great solution. And also maybe if these like fast food places are still in the schools, at least making sure there is the healthy option. Like if they want Burger King, they want McDonald's, Taco Bell, like let them have it. But like maybe have a sweet green in the school, also a chopped salad. Like these places should also be next to them so they are at least having the option. And I think having the option is where we start before we just take away stuff, because it is going to be a long lasting problem. There's no, we're going to do this today and it's fixed tomorrow. This is going to be an ongoing transition that Indiana schools and all schools are going to have to make. So I would suggest like at least putting a healthy option in the school. And if they can have someone making it there, knowing what ingredients are going in the food, great. But if not, giving them one of these healthier chains that have come about as an option for them.
So I'm actually kind of running out of questions, so I'll try and wrap this up. But what do you think? Well, I'm not going to ask you that because you say you're not really into politics, but
I am into politics. I just thought that wasn't the time.
But what do you think athletes could start doing to start promoting better health?
I think that is a great question. And I think athletes can do a great job of the transparency of their diet, the transparency of how much it costs, because at the end of the day, as a college athlete, you get so much help. So like most schools, at least in the Power 5, have a fueling station. So we have nutrition classes, fueling stations, and the fueling station has Gatorade, pretzels, grapes, kombucha, like literally whatever, you name it, and PB&J, just like things for us to eat and like fuel before games. And then we also have nutritionists that come in and teach us how to fuel our bodies properly, to pair a carb and a protein together before a practice. And like you talked about having a 3-hour practice. I learned in college, you should not go through a 3-hour practice without having some sort of nutrition supplement in the middle and eating. And in high school, I would go through 3-4 hour practices and not eat a single thing and just have water. But you need things to replenish your body. And so I think if we can start talking about it more and being more upfront, this is what I eat. And yeah, like I kind of follow the 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time I'm eating good, 20% bad. Because like I said, I like Skittles. I don't really eat Skittles anymore. But like I said, I like sweets. And it's nothing wrong to indulge in those things. You just have to do it in moderation and be mindful of what's going in your body.
Because I think I somewhat follow the 80-20 rule. I think mine's more like 70, 65, 35 maybe. But a lot of the time I'm not eating a lot of processed foods. Like a lot of the time, like my mom and my dad, or even myself and my brothers, we make a lot of our food at home. So it's not all those additives and stuff that are addictive. But like you said, like because we just started football practice now, like the practice is about 2.5, 3 hours long, but we don't have any supplement before or after. So we're on campus from 3 to 6:30 with no food in between other than water. So after that, like we're all tired and we're hungry. So it's almost like what else do you want us to do other than stop at the nearest McDonald's and get us like a large fry to eat?
Well, yeah, because when you're hungry at that point, your body's eating the muscle that you just created. So it's at that point you wasted all your time. And I mean, these are things, again, I didn't know when I was in high school. Like for us, it was like a competition who could have the shortest water break. You need water. Like you need water to practice. And I would go over there and just have like a little sip and then run back onto the court. And now I get to college and like our water breaks in college are probably about 2 minutes. So in that 2 minutes, you can get a snack. You can sit down if you want. You can replenish with water, Gatorades, but not like whatever you really need. That was so weird to me when I first got to college. Like I couldn't believe like we were taking that long of a break in practice, but it makes sense because like a lot of high school athletes get burned out and they want to make sure that doesn't happen in college, and they understand the nutrition aspect more than I would say at a high school level where people are crunched for time because they know your parents are going to be there to like pick you up at a certain time and you guys only have a certain allotted hours on the field.
Right. And maybe it's because it's just the summer and we have nothing before, nothing after. So that's why we live for so long. Because I definitely feel like during the season, practices are a lot shorter, but it's also because you're playing games every week. You also probably have film. You got to watch film, meetings. So the in-seasons are probably a lot better. But even then, it's like you said, like you guys get 2-minute breaks. Our water breaks are probably like 15 to 30 seconds.
No, I know.
Which doesn't seem bad. But then when you get to your position, it's like, wow, like I only had 30 seconds of water. Like I couldn't sit down, catch my breath. Like 30 seconds, I'm right back to it.
Hold on, we're a lot older now too, so like I need that time now.
Right.
Like, and they can't break your bodies down in high school. You're a lot more durable. In college, you start to see your body shift a little bit. So like the coaches are very mindful of that. Like you can't go like you used to as a kid. Like it's not the same.
And plus, college is a lot more fast paced, which means using a lot more energy.
Yeah.
So you're gonna need a lot more rest time. High school, it's still kind of fast paced, but compared to college, it's not that fast. Like because do you think when you went to college, like playing at Northwestern, the Big Ten, do you think that was like as fast as playing teams like Chateau?
There's a huge change in the level of game from high school to college, and especially when you're going into the Big Ten. I was lucky enough to play on Cathedral, which was a very competitive team, and I played at Munciana for club, and we were also a very competitive team. We were national champions on both, so shout out to both those teams. So I
think your banner's actually, sorry to interrupt, but I think your banner's actually still, was it 2017?
Yep.
I think your banner's in the top right corner of the rack.
As it should. They did return my Gatorade Player of the Year banner, which I was kind of hurt about. They mailed it back to my house, which I thought was kind of rude.
I think it says 29-0 or 32-0.
I think we were 32-0 that season. Yeah, we didn't lose a game.
But I remember because that's the first thing I saw when I walked into the rack was like, wow. Because I thought it said basketball, but I said, wow, volleyball 32-0? Like that was actually very impressive.
Thank you. No, we were legit. And like, I still think if that team would have competed in college, we would have been great. I think we had 9 or 10 D1 commits in that season, but then later on to have even more D1 commits. I think everyone came out pretty much with a scholarship and almost played in college. So it was an impressive group. Yeah, and I forget what I was saying. before that. So, no.
No, that's fine. So, kind of wrap this up. What message would you give to all the aspiring athletes out there, especially in the Indianapolis area? What message would you give out to the aspiring athletes of the Indianapolis area?
I would say, hold on, I want this to be good, so I'm actually going to take a moment to think about it. I would say it's kind of cheesy, but believe in yourself, believe in what you're doing, and believe in the process. No matter what stage of your career you might find you're behind or whatever, but if you keep pushing, you will get to where you want to be. Every single point in my life, I thought I was not good enough, and I have made it to be a professional volleyball player, which is so crazy to me that I came in freshman year. I was worried about not making the team. I ended up making varsity. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. I go to college. I'm worried about not playing. Like, you're on the team because they recruit you, but I'm worried about not playing. I get to start in my first collegiate match, which was beyond grateful to me. And then next thing you know, I'm traveling the world, doing what I love, and I'm getting paid for it. And all of this started just because when people told me I couldn't, I kept going. Like, it was never a point in my mind. I had a really great coach once that told me plan Bs are for people who only think plan A isn't going to work out. And that has always stuck with me because I'm just going with plan A because I want my dreams to work out. And so I would just say go with plan A. I am a little bit more of a daredevil though. So if you have a plan B, I guess it's not a terrible thing. But yeah, believe in yourself.
And before I end this, what this is kind of a two-part question. Number one, what's your best part about traveling overseas? Number two, what's your favorite country you've been to?
Okay, I think my favorite country I've been to is Japan because it was so different and I learned so much about their culture, and those people are the nicest people ever and they have the best skincare ever. And so I came home with a lot of skincare. That was also my most expensive trip. I spent a lot of money there. And then I would say my favorite part are meeting people, learning about their culture, trying the food, and just seeing what ways in my life I can upgrade, what can be better. Because I've been in America, I see everything, and I like always having two options and being like, if this is how people do things, I want to live this way because I think that aligns with my own personal values. So,
all right. Well, this was Trey Jefferson with Real Talk again with
Nia. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And this has been Real Talk.
This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you if people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else? Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.
Getting the smile and confidence you've been dreaming about, all from the comfort of your home, isn't a total mystery with Byte clear aligners. Just don't be surprised if all your friends start asking, "What's your secret?" Begin by ordering your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95. Byte clear aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces, plus they offer flexible financing, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
This is Real Talk. I'm Trey Jefferson. I'm here with...
Yeah, this is Danny Leckie, CEO of Hatch for Hunger.
Nice to meet you, Danny. So I just want to start off with, what got you into helping feed the community?
Yeah, it was something that I've always wanted to do, a passion that I was really able to create into a career. Hatch for Hunger was founded with this idea to bring better access and better, ability to provide food to communities all over Indianapolis, and now it's across the nation. But the ability that we have now to really provide healthy foods that we believe is a basic human right is something that really got me excited to join, to lead, and to now really find ways to move the needle against hunger in the Indianapolis community.
So I heard that. So did you guys start in like Indianapolis in Indiana?
Yeah, we did. So we started actually in 2015 with just a few pantries in a delivery truck. And throughout the years, that grew and grew and grew to where we finally were delivering eggs to 105 pantries throughout the city of Indianapolis and a few food banks. And over the last couple years, just in recent history, we now have all of our deliveries of eggs going through Gleaners Food Bank of Indiana. We now support over 20,000 pantries across the U.S., but we have deep roots here in Indianapolis. We love initiatives that help support our community, especially the community on the Far East Side that still remains in a food desert. And we believe that the food and the service we provide really helps the community get better access to healthier foods. And it's something that over the last year, we've really worked hard to give back to our local community, back to our roots, and help create real change for our community members that we care so much about.
So I read on your website that you guys are operating over 80 food banks and pantries in 31 or more states. Tell us about a couple of the states. Like, what's the best state that you've seen by far in growth?
Yeah, I mean, Indiana is probably one of our best states. It's where we got started. We have the most impact here. We're delivering well over 100,000 dozen eggs every month to different parts of the state. You know, just in Indianapolis alone, we deliver more than 50,000 dozen eggs every month to help feed the community. And that gets to the community for no cost. You know, the food banks may have to purchase some of those eggs, but the food insecure neighbors who are accessing that food, they get it for free. That is a huge opportunity for them to get healthy food and not have to buy it in the store. Another state that we have a lot of success in is actually in Illinois. And so we also provide a lot of eggs and a lot of protein to the Food Bank of Chicago, Greater Chicago Food Depository as well. And, you know, we're really strong here in the Midwest, but then we also help support food banks in San Francisco, and Dallas, Texas, and Atlanta, Georgia, and all over the country. So it's been really unique to see the different needs. But I'll tell you one thing, that, you know, animal protein is universal. Everybody wants eggs. Everybody wants chicken. Everybody wants milk. These are items that are so important to the family, bringing people around a table, helping children eat and be healthy and have full bellies. I mean, protein is the center of the plate, and it's been really neat to see that across many states here in the U.S.
So I see here that you guys not only deliver 300 million protein-rich meals a year, but you also want to change the eating habits of children by the age of 9.
Yeah.
What caused you guys to have that as one of your vision?
Yeah, you know, if you can change the eating habits of children by age 9, you limit the risk that they have for chronic disease. So if you have a poor eating habit, poor diet, because really in many cases, you know, the food might be too expensive, or you live in a food desert where you just simply lack access to nutritious food, you're more likely to have chronic diseases like diabetes, like obesity, like asthma, like potential heart issues in the future, ADHD, poor sleep. So there's a lot of issues that arise if you don't get that kind of good start with nutritious food. You know, if your option is to go to the grocery store or the gas station, you know, we hope that we can teach people to go to the grocery store and to get the food that's going to help fuel their bodies to ensure that they're healthy for, you know, decades to come. We believe that you know, that access is so important because if you look at the data, 1 in 5 children today are food insecure. 1 in 5. And there's 12 million households in the U.S., over 50 million people who live in food deserts or are food insecure and lack access to nutritious food. And that's a really big number. And that's a really big issue that we have to address. And that's a lot of children who aren't getting the right start to their day, that aren't getting the right start for their lives that don't get access to that food, which again, we believe is a basic human right. Everybody should have access to that nutritious food, which will allow them to fend off and fight some of these, potential chronic diseases in the future that's simply caused by the lack of access to nutritious food.
So I see here that in the 1970s, fast food started to get introduced into public schools and private schools across America. And it was in school lunches until about the mid to late 2000s.
Yeah.
Do you think that spike, do you think that caused bad eating habits in children? And do you think it's one of the huge problems in childhood obesity?
I think fast food has a place, right? I'm a product of a school that had fast food in it. But I think really what it comes down to is your familiarity with that food is the problem. It becomes comfort. It's easy. It's fast. You want the hamburger. You want the French fries. You want the pizza or the wings. Because that's what you're familiar with. Somebody once told me that your creativity with food is based on your experiences of your past. And so if your experiences in your past is a lot of fast food, if it's a lot of, gas station food or Dollar General because you don't have access to a grocery store, then that's what you're going to go to when you're on your own. That's what your family's going to go to when they're going to look for food. And so you create this system that has this familiar kind of access to fast food. And I do believe it becomes when you have an option to go home and make a nutritious meal or stop and get a Happy Meal or a cheeseburger, you're probably going to go stop and get that Happy Meal and that cheeseburger. That may not be what's best for your body. But I think the bigger issue truly is the fact that due to disinvestment and due to lack of access through grocery stores, many communities simply just can't get the right food. They can't get to the store, or it may be a multiple hour bus ride trip, or, SNAP benefits could run out and you just can't afford the healthier food. So you have to get the highly processed, shelf stable items that are going to last you and last your budget longer. That's not really necessarily going to help, young adults and children start their days on the right foot, and really the trajectory of their lives in the right way. I think we see, the statistics would tell you that if you're a food insecure individual, that food deprivation, that food insecurity will last for 3 generations. And so you're either going to be the first generation to experience, or you could be the third, or you could be the second. There's going to be so many people in that cycle that continually face this food insecurity, that continually have bad eating habits, that then could create, health issues. And really what we see is health disparities in communities that don't have good access.
So do you think something like you guys are doing, which is delivering a lot of protein-rich meals into kind of impoverished type of communities, do you think putting those same protein-rich meals into our schools, do you think that can kind of reverse the trend of people getting into bad eating habits?
I think it certainly could help. At the end of the day, for some of these areas, some of the meals that kids get to eat are the ones they only get at school. When you look at 1 in 5 children, 20% of children are food insecure. They're guaranteed to have meals Monday through Friday during the school year, but they may not be guaranteed to have, 3 meals a day, Saturday and Sunday. And so it's going to be truly imperative that the meals that they get at school are highly nutritious, do have high protein, and do have, the right nutritious food that a child needs to have a good start to their day, because there could be a window of 48 hours where they don't get that type of food, or they don't get that food at night when they get home and they only have breakfast and lunch available to them at school. And so it makes that school meal so much more important and so much more impactful for children when that might be the only healthy meals that they get during a school year. And then when you go into the summer, they don't get that anymore. And so that becomes quite the challenge for some of the individuals who their only good meal they get is at school.
So I'm going to kind of move to something that America has kind of like ignored, but other countries haven't. It's GMOs and processed food. So Miss Kia, who runs Voices, she recently went to the UK and Costa Rica. In the UK, they banned a lot of stuff that are allowed here. Stuff like a lot of red 40s, blue ones, yellow 6s, a lot of processed food like high fructose corn syrup and toxic food dyes are banned in Europe. And a lot of stuff like that are also banned in Central and South America, and they use a lot more. In Central and South America, they use a lot more plants, and the UK and Asia, they use a lot more natural stuff. But here in America, it's more process-based and chemical-based that's produced in a laboratory. Do you think that those addictive chemicals in America is what's causing people to eat foods, like it, and then keep eating it?
Yeah, I think that it certainly has an impact on what people reach for at the shelf. I do believe that there are impacts of dye on children's eating habits, on children's, I'd say, attention. I think there are some children that are more sensitive to these dyes that create maybe behavior that's not, their normal self. They get hyped, they get energetic. You kind of see these signs of ADHD and other things because of the dyes that are in the drinks and in the food. The cereals that I ate as a kid aren't the same cereals that are on the shelf today. And there's a lot of changes due to the fact that they want product to last longer. They want it to be more tasteful longer as well. And so there's a lot of engineered materials in the food. The best thing you can do is to have whole foods, whether it's, whole animal proteins with all your 9 essential amino acids, eggs, dairy products, minimally processed and whole foods are going to be the way that we should look to help change diets, change eating habits, and improve lives for, generations to come. Diets heavy in dyes and engineered materials, I do believe you do reach for those. I do believe that you want that dopamine high. You want that hit of sugar or dye or that feeling that those foods give you, which exacerbates this issue of unhealthy eating. And oh, by the way, they're not that expensive. And so you can get it very easily at the corner store or at the grocery store or, even at school vending machines in different places. So we make it really easily accessible. And for young children and young adults, it's something that you want. I mean, you can wake up and say, I want a Fanta. I don't want milk or water. Your body is saying you need this product in it. And that's a problem.
I'm actually glad you brought up affordability, because one thing I found out, because actually I'm starting to get a lot of health stuff on my social media feed and a lot of healthy alternatives to juices. Now I'm getting into juicing. So instead of buying, and we still buy apple juice and orange juice, but instead of consistently drinking that, we're starting to buy oranges and buy apples and juice them ourselves at home, and then drinking them from there. And it's a lot, even though it's not as sweet and it's not as good, it's healthier and it's fresher.
Yeah. So
I'm not putting a bunch of chemicals I buy, but I'm glad you brought up that unhealthier foods are more affordable, because when we go to the grocery store, it costs a lot more to buy a bag of oranges or a watermelon or a pound of apples than it costs to buy a box of chips or a package of Oreos.
For sure.
So does that play? Because when you look at on the Far East Side where Voices Corporation is, it doesn't really have any good healthy options, and the only options there around it are a lot of grocery stores that sell a lot of a lot of grocery stores that sell bad foods that are very affordable.
Yeah.
And they buy them because that's all they can afford.
Right.
Do you think that, like, the unhealthier option being more affordable than the healthier option, do you think that plays a role in unhealthy eating habits and obesity being more prevalent in low-income areas?
Yeah. I think, what do we see? Well, there's a lot of dollar stores and Dollar Generals in impoverished communities, especially communities that are deemed food deserts, that don't have typical grocery stores with access to healthy food. I think Indy Fresh Market's a great example of a grocery store coming in and providing healthy options to the community. But if you don't have that, and your options are the dollar store or the corner grocery store, like a gas station, not even a grocery store, that's the food they have because it's cheap and it lasts on their shelves for a long time. You're not going to have a dollar store or a gas station carrying a lot of whole foods, maybe bananas sometimes, or other products that are really cheap but are still whole. And so what else they do? Well, then they also accept your SNAP and WIC benefits. So you can use those to go to the dollar store or to the gas station and very quickly and affordably buy, a bag of chips and a pop and other foods that might not be very healthy for you. It's made it to where it's so easy to just go in. It's so convenient to go in and buy these foods that aren't going to provide you with, the right nutrition. There is no substitute for whole foods, for complete animal proteins, for dairy products, all these foundational things that your body really knows how to process and handle. Your body knows how to handle the natural sugars. When you're talking about juicing oranges and apples, your body knows how to handle that. Your body doesn't really know how to handle as much the Fantas or the other really sugary drinks that have a lot of high fructose corn syrup, have the dyes. Your body's not familiar with that, and it makes it even that much harder. And it works that much harder to get rid of it. Your body knows how to handle these other really nutritious foods. It's what it needs. It's what it needs to grow. It's what you need to fend off sicknesses. A lot of times you'll see people who have diets that are full of sugar, processed foods, highly shelf-stable foods. They get sick more often. And it really is because their body doesn't have the nutrients it needs to fend off, diseases and sicknesses. And that's just another benefit when you can access the right food that you receive. You won't be as sick as much. You won't be going to the doctor as much. You will be healthier. Your bones will be stronger. Your attention will be more, engaged on the items that you have to engage on in school and other places. So there's just a lot of benefits when you give your body the right type of fuel.
One thing both my parents do is we kind of stopped buying processed, like sweet sugar that's like in cookies, and we started buying stuff like natural cane sugar, stuff that's in fruit, and a lot of stuff in fruit and granola bars, stuff that it's still sugar, but it's the sugar that's good for you, not the sugar that can give you like diabetes sugar.
Right.
Do you think, and we've seen this in other countries where they started to put like restrictions on what type of sweet stuff we put in our bodies in those countries? Those restrictions are not in America. So do you think the U.S. government has to kind of step in and put like a restriction on like, okay, you can have this, but only to a certain amount, or this can be in your cookies, but only a certain amount? It can't be if we were making, like if Oreo was making new cookies, but the government said you can only put cane sugar in it instead of processed sugar in it, which cane sugar is good for you. If they did that, would we see like a change in our eating habits?
I don't know if we'd see a change. I know that things would probably be more expensive I think there'd probably be a lot of big companies who have lobbyists to make sure that type of behavior doesn't happen. Unfortunately, big business typically is what will rule the day. I'll say that, food banks are really progressive in this, actually. So food banks and food pantries across the country are really active in labeling, green, yellow, and red foods based on the nutritional value and the amount of sugar in those items, to try and make sure that families do receive items that are more in the green and yellow category and not the red, right? Like sodas would be a red. But your chicken, your eggs, your dairy products, those are going to be a green. Those are good for you. And so the food banks are really trying to help make sure that food is provided that is healthy, that is going to fuel a body, that is going to help create the better eating habits and the right habits for children and adults. So food banks are doing that. They're providing it to an audience that is coming to them needing food. So they have a little bit more control over this is what you're going to get because it's an audience that gets it at no cost. I think you get into a whole nother discussion if you start to talk about controlling what's in different products, as other countries have done. But it certainly couldn't hurt by any means.
Why do you think eating healthier costs more? Why do you think it costs more to be healthy and costs less to make unhealthy food, when it should be the other way around?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. It's probably easier on a larger scale to manufacture sweeteners or to manufacture different ingredients than it is to actually have to grow it. You look at less than 1% of the population is in agriculture. We're doing more with less acreage than ever before. A lot of the corn that's grown here in Indiana and the soybeans, that goes to feed the animals that we eat. I just think that, unfortunately, the infrastructure, the companies, they're set up for really a system that is built to create mass amounts of food very quickly that'll last for a long period of time, and you just simply can't do that with fresh and whole ingredients.
So I'm glad you brought up agriculture because, here in Indiana and throughout the entire Midwest, one of the major, I'm actually going to take a step further. You said that our agriculture is fed to animals, so that then we can eat the meat that the animals give us.
Correct.
However, the government just now approved, like a couple governments across the country just approved, I think the FDA approved it, I think we can now start growing meat in laboratories now, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the government basically telling us that we can grow our meat in laboratories?
Yeah, so that's part of, I guess, the society we're in a capitalistic market where if people see a business opportunity, we can't say no. However, it's not meat, and it's fake product that's manufactured. There's no replacement for real whole meats from pigs, from cattle, from chickens. You can't replace the real product with an engineered material that is, 90% mushroom, but bleeds like beef and, has these other engineered ingredients in there that you can't understand or read. Beef is 100% beef. You look at a packet of Impossible meat and it's got 30 different ingredients on the back. And it's also more expensive in most cases. And so, I don't think we can stop it. Quite frankly, it's okay for it to occur because there's people who want that. There's people who can't consume meat or don't want to, and that's fine. But for audiences that want it, there's plenty of meat available. There's plenty of options available. And, I don't think a petri dish or a lab environment is the right environment to try and fix a problem. But, again, if there's a market for it, then people should be allowed to do those those projects and see if they can be successful.
So do you think grocery stores have to start putting labels on what we consume to like say, hey, this product contains red 40 and blue 1, like on a pack of food snacks? Or if I'm in the meat section, then it has like a red dot saying this package is this meat is lab grown, yellow saying this is plant based, and green saying that this is natural meat. Do you think we need to start doing that?
Yeah, the Congress of the United States is, always being petitioned, and we continue in animal agriculture to petition that items be clearly labeled what they are. Almond milk isn't milk. Just egg product isn't egg. It needs to be called imitation product or, whatever it is. You can mislead consumers by misnaming or mislabeling your products. I do believe that there should be truth in labeling so that you do know what you are getting. I'm somebody who deals a lot with eggs, and I've almost been duped by the Just Egg liquid product. And that's a problem because I know what I'm looking for. So I do believe that it should be clearly defined. There's some products that do say no artificial dyes, no artificial sweeteners on the boxes, but that's by choice. Those companies decided to do that. It's not mandated, but I do believe it would be much easier and much better if you could clearly see, what ingredients are on there that may or may not be healthy for your body, instead of having to pull a box around and look and squint and look at the fine print and see if it has, dyes in it or other, engineered ingredients in it.
I watched this one movie called Fed Up, and it's basically a movie where actually, have you watched that movie yet?
I don't think so. Is that on Netflix?
I think it's on Netflix or maybe on Hulu, but it's a really good movie. It's I'm not gonna spoil it, but it's basically a movie where it shows like how we've been duped by the food industry and how they've kind of lied to us. So like on a pack of granola bars, it may say like 80% less cholesterol, but like on a breakfast bowl, like a protein breakfast bowl, it may say like less cholesterol, which that may be true, but they make it up in other other chemicals like sodium and sugars and stuff. So as they say something, if you really look, like how you brought up almond milk, because we used to always get almond milk, and we still kind of do, because it's good for like smoothies and stuff.
It is, yeah.
But when you look at a bag of almond milk, it's not just almonds.
Correct.
But then when you look because we just bought oat milk. So when you look at the back of an oat milk container, it's really just oats and, water. Yeah. So, and then when you look at because I'm getting on my feed now how to make almond milk from home. It's really just almonds, soak them, and then in water. Mm-hmm. Instead of all these added chemicals to make it sweet, it's actually almond milk.
Right.
So I like how you brought up that we do need to start labeling our foods, because again, we're kind of getting lied to, and it's putting our health at risk.
Yeah. I think again, it's truth in labeling, and that way you really know what you're spending your money on, and you really know what you're putting into your body.
So I'm gonna try to wrap this up. So I'm gonna get back to your organization, Hatch for Hunger. So how long have you been at Hatch for Hunger?
Just shy of 3 years. And in that time, we've really grown nationally, and, we've got some great projects here locally in the community, community grocery projects at Cafe, one we're launching at Voices, YMCA in Randsburg as well, to really help the community through a cooler with a key card that they can access for nutritious food. So whole foods like potatoes and strawberries and apples and eggs and cheese and milk and other items that will be refrigerated, that they can access whenever they need it, because they may not be able to get to the grocery store, or they simply may not be able to get it because there isn't a grocery store. And so, we have this big national kind of vision and we have this big national footprint, but we've really decided to, give back to our local community where our roots are and help support, the residents that we care so much about.
So I'm actually going to kind of touch on one of your pillars. It's the sustainability pillar, if you're okay with me reading it.
Yeah.
A unique, sustainable business model assures that we meet the immediate needs for nutritious food while safeguarding future resources, contributing to a healthier planet and fostering self-reliance within the communities we serve. Can you just kind of add on and touch on with that?
Yeah, everything we do, we try and do through a lens of sustainability. We're working with partners who have sustainable practices. We're working with products to keep them here domestically to help feed people. And we work really hard to ensure that we have a sustainable supply chain of products, of healthy products that, if you work with Hatch, that you'll be able to get eggs or chicken or other products very consistently on a weekly or monthly basis. That is good for your body, good for the planet, and good for your health. And that is really what that sustainability pillar means to me and the team at Hatch.
So I like how you guys also want to create generational change. You guys want to address hunger the long-term problems when it comes to hunger.
Yep.
That spans across generations. Can you also kind of touch on to that?
Yeah, I think it goes back to changing the eating habits of children by age 9. And, you can change the trajectory of someone's day, somebody's life, just by providing them with the right types of food to fuel their body, to fuel their mind. Where I sit, what we get to do is help try and change the lives of our future leaders, doctors, teachers, nurses, curers of cancer, people who need a little bit extra support at this season in their life, whether it's because of where they live or factors out of their control. We're going to be there. We're going to help ensure that they get the food they need so that they can change their lives, their outlook on life, and then the trajectory of their life. That's what generational change is for us, because if we can change that one life, when they have kids, their kids' lives are going to be changed. And when their kids have kids, those kids' lives are going to be changed. So you create this new cycle of hope and joy and opportunity. And we believe all that comes from food.
So when we end this, I'm actually going to go get Chick-fil-A, which is fast food.
Yeah.
I don't really eat fast food a lot, but I typically only eat fast food when, we have nothing, our parents, because we have busy parents. So
right. Yeah.
sometimes they don't get to make, because we do make, a lot of times they make their own dinner, but a lot of times we don't have time to make dinner, so you have to get fast food. But one thing I've noticed is when I eat fast food, I'm not as full, so I'm still hungry. So that's when snacking becomes a problem. Yeah. And you want to eat. I know I'm not the only one. I know there's tons of other teenagers and even a lot of adults, and especially kids, that feel it. When you eat fast food, you're not full, so your body tells you that, keep eating because we're not full yet. And that's how people get sick. But when I eat a home-cooked meal, it's like when I eat like spaghetti or chicken Alfredo or something like that, or even salmon, I'm actually like, my body tells me like, okay, stop eating. Maybe a couple more forkfuls, but after that, put some up, leftovers, we're full. And then I feel a lot more energized when I eat a home-cooked meal, like, probably not during school, but like on the weekends, I feel a lot more energized when we make a home-cooked meal and eat food at home rather than going out and stuffing my face and I'm not even full yet. So I just really know how you feel, because when I eat fast food, I'm not as full when it comes to, eating, home-cooked meals.
Yeah. Look, I eat fast food too, right? It's something that you have to do. when you need to do it. Do you feel less full? Absolutely. Does your body have to work harder to consume those really highly processed food items? Yeah, for sure. You feel more hungry because your body worked harder to process it. Do you feel more tired with less energy? Absolutely. I do. I mean, eating fast food on a road trip, terrible idea. I'll fall asleep. I don't have energy. So, I think, look, there's a time and a place for everything. And fast food is a tremendous way to still bring people around a table and have a conversation and celebrate life and celebrate opportunities. It's not the problem. It's a contributing factor. But the main problem is just simply that there's just not the access to food so that people have the right choice. For many people, the only choice is fast food, or it only is the gas station or fast food or the dollar store. And when you're faced with that choice, you tend to choose the easiest option or the closest option. So, I think that's the bigger issue. I don't think that, fast food is necessarily a villain. I think it has a great place in our society and our lives, and it holds a great level of convenience. And, it continues to try and find ways to be fresher and more available. But I would agree, you don't feel as full. You do feel less energetic. And honestly, the price per meal is high versus if you would have bought a pack of, chicken breasts from the store and cooked it at home. For that same price of a pack of chicken breasts, you got one meal for yourself where you could feed a family. And so you start to weigh those options, or, just some people stop and get a Diet Coke or a Coke every day before work or every day when they leave. That gets expensive too. And it's also not the right fuel for your body. So, I think people make the right choices. People make the choices based on what's convenient for them. But ultimately, fast food is, I think it's a part of our society. It's a part of our culture. It's not going to go anywhere. And we have to address the bigger upstream issues, which is the simple fact that, there are still communities in 2024 in America that don't have a grocery store within 3 to 5 miles of, 50,000 people that live in that community. And that's the bigger problem.
Yeah, and I don't really see how people can eat fast food for lunch. Like the lunch rush at McDonald's is ridiculous. I don't see how people can do it because, when you eat fast food, your body does get naturally tired. And I learned this in my exercise science class. The chemicals in fast food are not as good for your body as the stuff in just pure natural foods.
Sure.
And your body does work harder to digest processed food, which is why a lot of times people throw up because they can't digest that food quick enough. Mm-hmm. So that's why your body works harder, and that's why it quickly goes through your system, and then you feel hungry again, and then you have to eat again and again and again. So that's why, we only eat fast food for dinner. That way we don't really eat anything after that, and we don't have to keep eating. That means we don't eat another meal for dinner because we ate fast food for lunch. Mm-hmm. Or we don't eat multiple snacks throughout the day because we ate fast food for lunch. And, that's probably what happened in schools when fast food was getting served for lunch. Kids were getting sick. The childhood obesity rate was going up. And, kids were tired and they were getting sluggish because they weren't getting the right nutrition. So I definitely, like you said, I don't think fast food is the problem. It's not the solution, but it's not the problem because there is a time and a place for fast food. A lot of times we just eat it because we want to, not because we have to. Mm-hmm. So, but to wrap this up, is there anything else you would like to share?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And, look, at the end of the day, our goal is to make sure that people have access to the right food. It's going to be, community's choice to choose to get the right types of food in their diets. But we hope that, in time, the value of those proteins will be found. The value of what that brings to your life will be found. And that generational change can be recognized. And, I think it's a great way to end it when you say, fast food isn't the problem. You still get protein from it, right? Beef, chicken, those are foundational items in fast food. But, again, I think it's how do you manage your diet? How do you manage your food? And how do you work to gain better access to the right types of food? And that's really what we're focused on, is helping make sure that communities can get the right access in 2024 to the right type of food so the choice can be made.
Yeah, because like a lot of fast food restaurants, they do have like Chick-fil-A, they got grilled chicken.
Yeah, absolutely.
Five Guys, like they don't bring in their fries, like they make their own fries cut fresh from potatoes. So there are like healthier options fast food. But where can everyone find you?
Yeah, so they can find us at hatchforhunger.com. You can go onto our website there and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and learn more about what we're doing, learn more about what we're doing here in the community, and support us or support your local food bank and food pantry. That's what it's all about, is moving the needle and making sure that people have the right access to the right type of food.
Yeah, my church has a food pantry. We do ours every Saturday, every first Saturday of the month. And then Voices Corporation is also going to open their food pantry, I think actually with Hatch for Hunger.
Yeah, we're going to help provide a cooler for the community there, as well as kind of a shelf-stable, locker to help have, your cold items and then your shelf-stable items.
This is Real Talk. No strings attached. Be sure to like and subscribe to this podcast. And be sure to check out other great podcasts on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Online now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.